Hello friends, my name is Masood. Today we'll discuss about a topic story point. Friend, this is a very important topic with respect to project management, especially agile or Scrum projects. This is a very important term in Scrum framework, and today we will see this topic in detail. That what does it mean by story point and how to calculate the story point. This is very important. And friend, if you are a student and studying project management, especially studying agile or Scrum framework, so this topic is very important with respect to exam point of view, and you will see this topic in the exam. At least 3 to 4 questions will definitely be there in the exam, in which your concept related to story point will definitely be checked. Secondly, if you are a professional IT manager and managing projects, especially by using the concept of Scrum framework, so this is necessary for you to understand the concept of story point and how to use this concept in your professional life of project management using the Scrum framework. So friend, let's start. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell option as well, so that my new videos can reach to you. So let's start. Story point. First of all, friend, try to understand this concept that it's a topic related to Scrum framework. In the Scrum framework, we use this topic story point. So first of all, we have to understand that what is Scrum actually. Before going into the deep, Scrum is a framework which we use to manage the IT projects or software projects. That is called as the Scrum framework. So now, what is software projects? See, friend, like for example, you are implementing a website, you are implementing a mobile application, you are implementing an e-commerce solution. So, in all those types of project management, for all those types of software implementations, we can use the Scrum framework. Now, actually, what is Scrum framework? Now, um, friend, most of the people maybe you know about it that nowadays there are mostly commonly there are two approaches of project management. However, there are multiple approaches are there. However, two popular approaches we can say are, one is the traditional project management, that is called as waterfall approach, and the second one is the called as the Scrum framework. Now let me give you an example here, so that you can understand the concept of Scrum. Basically, first we have to understand the concept of Scrum. Friend, just taken as an example that you have to implement an e-commerce solution as a project manager, and once you discuss the requirements with the customer, you recognize that there are 40 tasks which you have to deliver to complete the project of e-commerce solution. If you use the approach of waterfall, so what you will do, like you will plan the 40 tasks, then develop the 40 tasks, then test the 40 tasks, and then deploy the 40 tasks with the customer. So this is the waterfall approach, like plan, develop, test, and then deploy. So this is the waterfall or traditional project management approach, in which all the thing goes sequentially. We cannot go back once the next phase is started. Like for example, if you are have started the testing phase, so you cannot go back into the development phase. Basically, it's a waterfall approach. Waterfall means like it goes in sequence, it goes in one line, or it goes in one sequence actually. So it cannot go back, like, okay. So plan, develop, test, and deploy. Okay, so this is the waterfall approach. Now what is the Scrum approach? In the Scrum approach, what we do, it is a sprint based approach. In the sprint based approach, what we do, a sprint is a 3 to 4 weeks time period. So we take 10 tasks, and each sprint 1 will have 10 tasks. So we plan, develop, test, and deploy the 10 tasks in the sprint 1, and then the sprint 2, which is a 3 to 4 weeks time period, we take the next 10 tasks, sprint 2. In sprint 3, we take the next 10 tasks, we plan, develop, test, and deploy, and then we reach at the sprint 4, which will have the again we take the last 10 tasks, and plan, develop, test, and deploy the last 10 tasks. So in that way, once we reach at the sprint 4, all the tasks have been completed and delivered to the customer. So this is the concept of a Scrum. Scrum means that we divide the work into chunks. Of chunks means sprint is a 3 to 4 weeks time period, and the whole cycle execute in a sprint, like plan, develop, test, and deploy. The main crux here is that we receive the feedback of customer at a very early stage, and we can do the amendments if required at a very early stage of a in a project. Now, if you can understand the concept of Scrum here, we can now talk about a story point. What is story point? So first of all, we have to understand that what is story. Before going to the point, story, what is story? Friend, story in terms of a Scrum framework, that is called as the user requirement or functional requirement. For example, you are implementing e-commerce solution and customer says that he wants that customer can view the product catalog on e-commerce solution. So this is a story. Story means user requirement. In simple, generally, just try to understand the concept of story here. Story is the requirement of customer or functional requirement, functional identity required by the customer. Similarly, he wants that customer can do the payment through the credit card on e-commerce solution. So this is another story. Customer can compare one product with any other product with respect to features and cost. So this is another story. Story means requirement of customer. Now, what is actually the story point? Friend, story point is basically thing is that it is a estimation technique. Like in the waterfall or traditional project management, for example, if some you are a developer and customer project manager comes to you and he says that he wants to implement the functionality like customer can do the payment through the credit card on e-commerce solutions. How many days are required? So if you are a traditional project manager, you may get the answer like, for example, within 5 days we can implement that functionality, for example. Okay, so in the traditional project manager, there is a concept of man days. Man days means 8 hours work for one person, for one resource. That is called as the concept of man day in traditional project management. Now, in traditional project management, there is a concept of man day. Man day means 8 hours. Now, in Scrum framework, there is a concept of story point. Story point means that based on the complexity of the story, based on the requirement complexity, we assign few points to story or requirement, that how much complex is this requirement, and we assign up points to the story so that we can understand that how much effort is required to accomplish that story. Okay, this is the main concept. It is estimation technique, and based on the story points, based on the complexity, we assign a number to a story so that anyone can understand and how much effort is required to accomplish the story or requirement. In order to how to calculate the story point, now how we can calculate. For example, friend, uh, for example, there are three requirements. First of all, you have to implement for example, you have to implement a requirement that customer can do the credit card payments on the e-commerce solution. So in the session of in the session, you can what you can do, like you can compare with some other story, some other requirements. For example, as a reference, you can say that requirement A has a point 5, for example, because so if that requirement particular that which you are going to implement, it is easier or difficult. For example, someone says that it is easier than the reference requirement A, so you can assign it as a point number 7. For example, someone says that it is more easier than the reference requirement A, so you can assign it as a 3 points, for example. So based on that, basically what you can do that based on some relevancy, you can assign it some points, that how much it is difficult. So the difficulty level, you can compare it, you can calculate it by comparing it with some other requirement. Okay, so based on that, you can calculate the story points on or the points for that particular story. So normally we use the Fibonacci concept here. Fibonacci means 0, 0 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, 40, hundreds. So in that manner, we can assign a number to the story. And remember, friend, one thing: the story point concept is based on the concept of difficulty level or complexity level. That is the concept of a story points. The benefits of using the story points is that, friend, it is very quickly and easily we can estimate. There is no specific concept of hours is there. Actually, there is a concept of complexity and difficulty, and these are accurate enough to plan sprints ahead. Sprint means 3 to 4 weeks time period. So you can say, for example, in the sprints, we have 5 stories which we have to implement. For example, so and each story has a 2 points, so story points, so that means 10 story points we have to implement. So based on that, you can understand that in the story point there is no concept of hours. Actually, there is a concept of difficulty level and complexity level. So that is called as the concept of story point. Story point is basically estimation technique which is based on the complexity and difficulty level of the functional requirement of users. Based on that, we assign numbers, points to the story, so that we can understand that how much effort is required to accomplish or fulfill that user requirement. So friend, thank you, thanks a lot for your time, and that's all from my side. Thank you.